Hi, everyone. First, I wanted to say thank you for the encouragement and positive feedback that I received today. It was awesome. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Paulo Estudante from grade school. He messaged me today on Facebook, and I'm just going to read the actual message. He said, "Seeing you do this gives me the courage to go ahead with my own podcast and book. Been kicking the idea around for a long time, but never went through with it." And I told him that he should definitely do it. And we went back and forth, and he said, I keep telling I keep telling myself that if I share my story, it could help one or two guys out there. The cool thing is that I've gotten some positive feedback on Instagram. I have no clue what I'm doing, but the emotions and ideas are there. I have been following Paulo's Instagram page for a while, and I think that it is extremely unique and powerful because he is bringing awareness to a topic that is rarely discussed. I've actually never really seen it discussed on social media at all, but it is men's mental health, their role in society, and their expectations. And I think that it could help a lot of men out there. So if you want to check out his Instagram page, his name is spelled Paulo, Paulo, Estudante, Estudante. And I just wanted to add that this is what this whole podcast is about, using our life experiences to help other people. And that's exactly what he's doing. So check out his Instagram page. I guess this is where I start talking. This is going to be the start of every podcast. I'm just going to say, is this when I start
talking? Words.
Yes, I have to talk. That's the point.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay. One thing I wanted to share with everybody is that I love quotes, and I will definitely use them during every episode, probably more than one, but at least one during every episode. So I'm going to start this episode off with a quote that I really like. It says, "Hard times are often blessings in disguise. Let go and let life strengthen you. No matter how much it hurts, hold your head up and keep going. This is an important lesson to remember when you're having a rough day, a bad month, or a crappy year. Truth be told, sometimes the hardest lessons to learn are the ones your spirit needs most. Your past was never a mistake if you learned from it. So take all the crazy experiences and lessons and place them in a box labeled thank you." The first thing that comes to mind when I read that quote is something my dad used to say to me all the time, and it has really helped me get through a lot of things in life. Um, he was the person I would call if I was going through something really tough, and he would always say the same thing. And he would say, it might seem like a curse, but it's probably a blessing. And at first, I would think he was crazy because obviously at the time I would be going through something awful. And it was crazy because it would always turn out that what I thought was a curse was a blessing. It might have taken a day or a week or a couple months, but inevitably every time it turned out that he was right. And I just always thought that that was amazing. And that has really helped me a lot. So I just wanted to start off with kind of just a general thought, which is the more I lost in my life, the more I appreciated what I still had and how grateful I was for all of it. Every little thing. After losing my dad, Mark, Sarah, my grandma, friends, I just started to look at things differently. I appreciated time. I appreciated people, music, dance, all the things I already appreciated. I just appreciated them on a deeper level, every tiny little detail. And that's a really good feeling to have, because once you realize that everything is temporary and tomorrow's not promised. Nothing is promised. You just really start to um, appreciate every single moment you have and the people around you and the things around you. So I just wanted to share a story. After Mark and Sarah passed away, I was seeing a therapist through hospice, and she was great. But I will say that when you start telling things to a therapist, you don't expect them to be shocked because they've pretty much heard it all, especially a hospice therapist. So it was interesting to me that when I was sharing just a handful of my stories with this therapist, she actually looked shocked. As my friend Paige would say, she looked phased. She actually looked phased by my stories. And I'm like, that's not really the best feeling to have when you're talking to a therapist, for them to be shocked by your stories. So I told her a few of my stories, and she looked at me dead in the face and said, "How are you still standing?" And I was kind of confused by her question because I said, "I don't have a choice." And she went on to say, "Everyone has a choice." And after she said that to me, I kind of realized on some level that at some point I had chosen to fill my time with things that brought me joy: dancing, singing, hanging out with friends. And I never looked at it like that before until she said that. For me, I just thought, I am a mom. I have 4 kids. I have to keep going. I don't have a choice. And she kind of gave me a reality check and said, no, you do have a choice, and you have chosen to um, basically chosen happiness and to keep going and to show your kids that they can still dance and sing and have fun, even though you've experienced like such, serious losses. Another thing I wanted to touch on, though, is that I still grieve. I don't want anybody to ever think that I am minimizing grief or saying I don't grieve and I'm just happy all the time and singing and dancing, because that is far from the truth. Um, I still grieve, and I will continue grieving for the rest of my life on some level, because I will never stop missing the people that I've lost. But that being said, I still have my life that I have to live, and I have to support my children in living their lives. So I just don't want anybody to think that I am saying that I don't cry or shut down ever, because I do. I'm just talking about, like, having grief and joy in your life at the same time simultaneously is definitely possible. After losing my dad, after losing Mark, Sarah, my grandma, I grieved long and I grieved hard. Um, Sorry, I just lost my train. What I'm saying is that grief, pain, and sadness will always be there. You can revisit it whenever you want to or need to. You can cry whenever you want. I'm a big advocate for crying because it's a release, and I always feel better after I cry. The point is to not let it consume you. I wanted to share a story about a friend of mine that passed away a few months ago, Juanita. And I met her through a mutual friend. Our kids were friends. And then my daughter went to a different school for a year, and she was the one that would talk to me outside every day. She always had the biggest smile on her face and was just the sweetest person ever. Her sister passed away from breast cancer, and we would talk about that because she knew that Mark, my husband, was going through cancer treatment. So we went out to eat. We talked about cancer treatment. At the time, her sister was in remission, and Mark was going through treatment. Fast forward a few years, her sister passed away. She found out that I had breast cancer, and she started checking on me. She would send me messages. I think she would write down the dates of my doctor appointments because every time I had a doctor appointment, she would message me and say, let me know how it goes. And then she would check up with me later in the day. I didn't hear from her for a few weeks. I figured, everybody's busy. She's a mom, life, I didn't think anything of it. I went on Facebook one day and saw a picture of Juanita and her sister, and it said something like, now they're both angels in heaven. I was just in complete shock. I couldn't even wrap my brain around what I was looking at. It did not hit me for probably 5 minutes when I started reading the comments. I was very confused. I was completely devastated. So I went into my bed and put the blanket over my head and just started crying. I was in fetal position crying. It was just a mixture of the devastation that she was no longer here, but also the shock because I didn't know that there was anything wrong and it was just completely unexpected. So as I'm curled up in fetal position under my blanket, screaming, crying in my room, my friend Kelly comes in and I just hear her voice very softly say, get out of bed. We have to go get our nails done. And at first, I was extremely confused. And I'm thinking, does she not see what's happening right now? I am kind of having a moment. Um, she eventually pulled me out of bed and she talked to me before we got into her car to go to the nail salon. And what she said to me will stick with me forever because it's so true. And she said, I am so sorry that you lost your friend. It's extremely devastating. But she said, you can be gone tomorrow. I could be gone tomorrow, and life will still go on. Everything will still be okay. And it's true because that's just life. There's really no other option. And Kelly is one of my best friends. I love her to death. So for her to look at me and say that she could not be here tomorrow and I would still have to go on and be okay really spoke to me. And it somehow, in some way, just kind of gave me the reality check that I needed and calmed me down. So I just wanted to share that story because it's just true. And again, I'm not saying that crying and screaming and curling up in fetal position is not okay because it is. But after a certain point, you do have a choice and you come to a crossroads where it's like, am I going to keep crying and screaming in bed or am I going to grieve this person in my own way, but also live my life. But she knows how much loss I've experienced already. So she knew that she could almost pull me out of that moment a lot quicker than maybe some other people. And she did. And I appreciated it. So I just wanted to share that story. Turning the page. I am not a therapist. I am not talking about theories or things I've learned from a book. The reason I started this podcast is because I have experienced so many devastating things firsthand. And what I'm telling you is that not only am I okay, I am extremely happy. People ask me all the time how I stay positive, and the way I look at it is why would I not be positive? What's the alternative? To be negative, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of my energy. There's no point to be stressed and negative. Even during cancer treatment, I truly believe in my heart that because of my mindset, it helps me recover from surgeries and treatments. And I can't scientifically prove that, but I will say that I had a double mastectomy with reconstruction. I had 24 radiation treatments, and I just had my tubes and ovaries removed last Tuesday, and I was dancing by Saturday. So it can't hurt. I can say that. Our bodies listen to our thoughts. I actually read several articles earlier about that were really interesting. Maybe that'll just be a whole episode in itself. Um, so my whole point is we all have a choice. right? We can be positive or we could be negative. Every day when we wake up, we can be positive or negative. And I'm not saying every day is going to be, rainbow and sunshine, but overall, in general, after everything I've been through, all the loss I've experienced, all the people I've lost, having cancer myself, most people almost expect me to be sad and doom and gloom and negative, and I'm like the complete opposite of that, and it confuses people, which is totally fine, and I get it. But it's a choice. And my kids learned this lesson when they went to bereavement camp after Mark and Sarah passed away. They went to an awesome bereavement camp and they would do grief exercises. And one of the exercises, they made boats out of milk cartons and they had pictures of Mark and Sarah on the boats and they lit a candle and they wrote all over it and they let the boats go on the lake at the camp. And the kids, I wasn't there, but from what they've told me, everybody was crying and just in their emotions, and which is amazing, especially for kids to openly be able to do that and share that with other kids that were also experiencing serious loss. But then after they released the boats after they cried and talked and everybody kind of settled a little bit. Then they went and made s'mores by the campfire. And then they were having fun with their friends and laughing and talking. And the whole point of the exercise was that they were teaching the kids that you can cry and grieve, and that's okay and it's necessary. But then it's also okay to be happy and have fun because that's just life. So that was a really important lesson that they learned at camp. And that's something that all of us can learn from, to just ride the wave of grief. There will be moments of extreme sadness and crying and whatever you need to go through. But you just have to pull yourself out of it and you have to live your life. Like I said, sometimes I have conversations with people and they look at me completely confused. For example, this happens all the time. Someone will ask a question about, they'll just mention, your husband. Oh, can your husband watch the kids? Can your husband do this? Is your husband helping you do that? And I will tell them he passed away 2 years ago. And then sometimes they will ask how or why. And I tell them he passed away from cancer. At that point, they usually say, oh my God, that's so awful. I'm so sorry. And then I will tell them that I am going through cancer treatment myself. And I think it's because I don't sound sad when I'm explaining these crazy events of my life. As I said, I can totally understand why it confuses people. But I have just chosen to not be a victim. No matter what life throws at me, I will deal with it to the best of my ability. I will never get up. Not get up. I will never give up. I'm sorry. I will always get up. I will never give up or sink. For myself and for my kids, I will not just survive, I will thrive. I can't change the events of my past, and this is crazy for me to even say out loud, but I honestly believe this. I wouldn't change anything about my past because I became stronger through all of it, and it's made me who I am today. This is my favorite part of this podcast tonight, and I really want everybody to listen. I mean, obviously, if you're listening, I guess you're just listening to the whole thing, but this is my favorite part. It's very liberating to not fear life's unknowns because the reality is that it is all unknown. All we have is now, this moment. That's all that's promised. Everything else is a mystery. We can't control everything that happens in our lives, but we can control how we want to use our experiences for good. It's empowering to know that as long as you are here, you will choose to keep living your life. No matter what has happened to you or how much you've lost, you are still here and you have a purpose. Every day is a new beginning. And I'm going to end with a quote. The higher your purpose, the greater the challenges. These trials and tribulations are a testament of who you are and the shit you're capable of. Thank you, Paige. Love you, honey.
Two in the books.
Love you too, honey.
If you have any questions, comments, or just want to reach out, you can email me at valariedancingintherain@gmail.com. And my name is spelled VALARIE, dancinginthe.rain@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your support.